the Ozarks in 5, brought to you by Adventure Cave Tours. Live a day in the life of a real adventurer with Adventure Cave Tours. And the Springfield Greene County Park Board, reminding you to go play. Here are your hosts, Ethan and Sarah Forhetz.
And here we are. Good morning to you on Monday. It's been a long, hot weekend. Hope you made it through. We got some news to talk about this morning.
Yeah, kind of a lot of news. And honestly, much of it is weather related, not just the heat either. But we'll be talking about that in just a bit as well. But for now, we will start all over on the West Coast, where things are about to get real dicey. A deluge of heavy rain from Tropical Storm Hillary is hitting California after making landfall along Mexico's Baja coast. California, in fact, is in a state of emergency. Officials there say Southern California could get a year's worth of rain in just a few days. Forecasters are telling people not to worry as much about the winds, although they could be fierce, but really about the downpour, heavy downpours, and likely mass flooding. Get this, also at the same time that the storm was coming ashore with all the rain yesterday afternoon, a magnitude 5.1 magnitude earthquake hit at the same time. So truly a time to be praying for California and for Baja, Mexico as well. So that is in California. And then in Washington state, they are having their own set of natural disasters and also under a state of emergency. There, they are dealing with wildfires burning even into Canada and in Spokane County, Washington. 2 big fires started on Friday. They are still burning. 1 person was killed. Evacuation orders are underway. More than 20,000 acres have been charred so far, and the fire is said to be zero contained. So the fires are threatening about 150 homes. And again, the evacuation orders have been sent out.
Man, it's unbelievable what's going on. I spent the whole weekend. Convoy of Hope is responding to many of these, and I spent the weekend on the phone, on the computer, trying to figure out what we're doing and just dealing with all of that. I can tell you Convoy of Hope is very busy responding to several of these disasters. The devastating wildfires in Washington state, as well as up in Canada. We're responding there, making plans to help in California because, as Sarah said, the flooding is going to be out of control. I mean, can you imagine? They're talking about in Death Valley, for example, they get, I think, 3 inches of rain a year, and they could get that in an hour. That's mind-blowing. In a lot of these areas, I lived in Las Vegas for 5 years, and whenever it rained hard in Las Vegas, and they're in the path of this as well, there were areas that just flooded, and it was rivers moving down the road because they don't ever get that rain, so they don't have any way to deal with it. They don't have any place for it to go. Like we have everything set up for water runoff in trenches and canals and all that sort of thing. They don't have anything like that out west because they never get the rain. This is a once in a lifetime event. So Convoy of Hope, of course, is also already on the ground and has been for more than a week now in Maui following the wildfires there. So it's a very, very busy time. And then down in the Atlantic, heading maybe into the Gulf, are a few storms that could turn into hurricanes. So there is a lot going on right now. And Sarah's right. Prayers are appreciated in California and in Mexico and Florida or Hawaii still, and maybe down in the Gulf. There's one that's at this point, the models have it going toward Texas in the Gulf, but way too early to know that exactly. But
right,
man, oh man, it's a busy time all of a sudden.
Yes. Well, in other news, today is back to school for many schools. Ozark starts back today, among many others. Springfield goes back tomorrow. 'Tis the season for back to school. So if you're driving around, make sure that you're wary of the school zones and the crosswalks where students are going to be crossing over, bus stops. Also, some of the bus routes have changed this year, so you can check out the parent portal for your district's website. Check out those new routes, but just have a good day, kiddos. If you're listening to this in your car on your drive to school, we hope that it's a fantastic year.
Yeah, teachers, administrators, students, parents, good luck. We hope it goes well.
Included.
We hope it goes well. Yes.
Included. Yes.
Us included.
Amen.
No doubt. Well, the sinkhole saga continues on Highway 60 near 65. Most of the lanes, though, are now open. It all started Thursday afternoon. The craziness, the sinkhole opened up on Highway 60, westbound, just west of Highway 65. Caused traffic delays on Friday before most of those lanes were able to reopen Friday afternoon. At its largest, that sinkhole was about 35 feet long, 15 feet across. So it's a pretty good sized sinkhole in a terrible place for a sinkhole. The Missouri Department of Transportation is working to fill it and make plans to get all the lanes reopened there. But man, the traffic was crazy. You were stuck in it for more than an hour. You had to go all the way up because if you're coming from Branson, Ozark, north on 65, and you want to go west on 60, you had to go all the way up to Battlefield because the giant high arching ramp was closed. And
I was actually laughing at myself because I was just, along for the ride, really, but it turned into longer than I thought. And I had my running shoes in my car and I had cash, which I don't typically carry cash. So I took it upon myself to go get myself a coffee while I was sitting in the traffic, just pulled on in and grabbed a coffee. And then I'm like looking in the back and I'm seeing my running shoes calling my name. So then I went down to the Greenways Trail because I was there at like Battlefield and Lone Pine. So I was like,
you stopped on the way? You just pulled over to the side of the road?
I had sat there for 50 minutes and I was barely moving. So then when I get to moving, I want to do something. And I had cash. What was I to do? This is why I don't carry cash. And then I had my running shoes and I was by the trail. So I was like, I'm just going to make some lemonade over here. Don't mind me. Anyway, it was fine because I wasn't in a hurry. If you were in a hurry, I felt sorry for you because you were going nowhere fast.
Yeah, you're in trouble if you're in a hurry. All right. Well, I'm glad you were able to take advantage of it. Greene County's judicial circuit now has 2 new judges presiding. Governor Parson appointed Derek Ankrum as circuit judge and Nathan Taylor as associate circuit judge in Greene County. Ankrum is from Springfield. Taylor is from Stratford. We've been telling you about this. Greene County has lost a few judges, more than a few, to retirement in recent months. So they're trying to fill those positions.
Yeah. Congratulations to both of them and to Missouri State University. They just received the largest one-time gift in history of the university. It was an 8-figure amount, although the university does not give exactly how much it was. So that's interesting. But that means it's at least $10 million. So that's amazing. The C.W. Titus Foundation gifted MSU, and it's going to support a new facility for arts education as well as social sciences and humanities.
Wow. That's a good sized gift. It keeps on giving, apparently.
It's awesome.
Mercy Hospital has reopened its lactation clinic in Springfield. It's located at Mercy's Family Resource Center. That's on Cherokee Street. The clinic had been closed since COVID. When everything shut down, it shut down, never reopened. Prior to that, though, it had been open for the last 15 years. The lactation clinic is open now, 8 to 5, Monday through Thursday, to help new parents. And we remember those days.
We do remember those days. I actually used the clinic, not the Mercy one, but the Cox equivalent. I don't even know what it's called, the Women's Center or something. It has a different name, but the same thing. And I called them multiple times. In fact, I thought maybe my call in life was to be like a cheerleader for women who were struggling to nurse their babies. I was like, you just need a cheerleader and you'll be fine. But you do need a cheerleader because it's flipping hard at first. And that's what they are. They were like my cheerleader. And then I wanted to cheer for other people. So anyway, as it turns out, it wasn't my call in life, but for a season of time, I felt like that's what I was doing. All right. So we were talking about the heat and all the different weather related stories in the newscast today. And the heat is bad here and in Kansas. Apparently this weekend in Kansas, Johnson County reported 150 people having to get heat related illness treatment on the spot at an air show in Gardner, Kansas. So most of them were treated on site, but 5 of them out of the 150 did have to go into the hospital because of heat related issues. So doctors say hydration is the key. And instead of guzzling a bottle of water once you are in the heat and at practice or wherever it may be. Make sure that you are drinking consistently small amounts all throughout the day. A sip here, a sip there. I got my water right here.
Oh, look at that.
Staying on top of my hydration. You see that?
Well, yeah. Hydration first.
Cumulative
we were up
intake.
We have an excessive heat warning. It's going to be hot all week. It's going to be crazy all week for this late in the year too. But we have excessive heat warning in place until Thursday night at 10 o'clock. You can imagine that. So it's going to be like 100 degrees all week long, and then 99 on Friday. So no more excessive heat warning. We're good with 99. But I was up in Kansas City. We had soccer games this weekend, and we had 2 games on Saturday. The first game, it was fairly pleasant because it was early, 9, what did we play? 10:45 or something like that. And then the second game was in the heat of the day. It was afternoon, and it was hot. And they have these crazy rules there that the kids, you can't have umbrellas at the bench, and you can't have an actual bench. So we had both for our kids. We had a bench there, and then we had umbrellas giving the kids shade because it's 102 degrees. They're playing on turf, which adds at least 10 degrees, I would think. It's like an oven. And they came and they took away the umbrellas and the bench. So the kids are now sitting on the hot turf. I mean, it was ridiculous given how hot it was. About 10 minutes later, one of our kids throws up because he's so hot, and they call all the games off at that point because one of our kids threw up. And they're like, "Oh, it's too hot now. We got to stop the games." And then
Ethan was fit to be tied. He called me. He's like, "They took down the tent. What do you mean? They took down the tent.
It wasn't a tent.
Why would they take down the tent?"
We knew they weren't allowing a tent.
Or the umbrella, whatever it is.
It's an umbrella to give kids shade from the heat. I mean, it's insanity. It was 102. So then, and there's a lot of Springfield people who drive up for this. On Sunday morning, we found out at about 9:30 that they were canceling all the games after 1 p.m. Well, we had 2 games that day, both of them after 1 p.m. The first one was at 1. The second one was at 4:45 or something. So instead of telling us the day before, so I wouldn't have had to stay at a hotel and spend the night in Kansas City to know that our games were postponed and canceled, they told us Sunday morning, when we've known since Tuesday of last week that it was going to be 102 both days. It was just very poorly planned. So then a bunch of people from Springfield who had an earlier game at 11:30 or something, they all drove up only to find out that they're going to play shortened halves. So they drove a total of 5 hours, some of them longer than that, maybe 6, depending on where they live, to play 2 15-minute halves of soccer, 30 minutes total, and then had to drive home and not play a second game. And then that game's going to be made up, so they're going to have to drive up just to play one game some other time. It was a disaster. It was
anyway. Suffice to say, it's hot. It's very
It was hot.
That's the moral of the story.
But we knew it was going to be hot.
And
so if
and
you're going to cancel stuff, do it in advance.
I know. I was chuckling a little bit because I felt like it could be an episode of Seinfeld when you were like, "What's with the tents? Why won't they allow not the tents, the umbrellas? What's with the umbrella? What's wrong with the umbrella?" Yeah. Anyway, and then once the kid puked, it was like, "We're done."
Yeah. It was like that was the magic ticket to end all of the games.
All right, we're going over our allotted time, sir. If you could just go ahead and give us the last story of the newscast.
Doggone it. I think people are interested in what I do on the weekend, and I wanted them to feel my pain because it was absurd.
As much as they're interested as what people are eating on Facebook, right? Just post a picture of your food and everybody cares. All right, ready, set, go. Last story. Ready,
a lot of people from Springfield were quite unhappy over the weekend about what happened. Anyway, we were in Kansas City. The Chiefs played, so we got to watch them on TV while we were up there in the Chiefs territory. This is Chiefs territory too. I know that. They looked good in their second preseason game over the weekend. They returned to the scene of their Super Bowl 57 victory to take on the Arizona Cardinals, who are not really any good. They whooped them 38-10. Chiefs are now 1-1 in the preseason. Not that it matters much. Star quarterback Patrick Mahomes played a little. He finished with 10 for 15 completions for 105 yards and 1 touchdown. So they're getting back into form, which is good.
Very exciting. All right, there you go. There's your 15 minutes worth of news, 5 of it a tirade from Mr. Foreheads, but I enjoyed it.
I've been waiting to get this off my chest. It was
I
a
could
long
tell.
week. How long?
I
hot
knew that we
weekend.
were going to go there. Once I saw that heat was back in the forecast, I was like, we're going to get the story. It's going to happen. Anywho, have a great Monday. I hope that school is amazing for everybody today. That's where I am headed as well. So have a good one.
Stick around for Abby Dyer's Wake Up Weather, or you can get it wherever you get this podcast. Check it out. She'll tell you what's happening today and all week. Have a great day.
It's time for Around the Ozarks Wake Up Weather. Here's your host, Abby Dyer.
Good morning, everyone. Welcome to your Monday. Thanks for starting your day with Around the Ozarks Wake Up Weather. I am meteorologist Abby Dyer, and I'm happy to be with you this morning. I hope everybody had a great weekend. It was a hot one, wasn't it? I'm tired of being hot, but that's bad news for me because I just have more heat, more humidity in this extended forecast, and we have excessive heat warnings for so much of the Ozarks, really for most of the work week forecast. This is hotter than it normally is for late in the summer, back to school time. We're not normally suffering with these heat index values that are easily in the triple digits, but that's what we've got coming our way the next few days. The heat's not really going to back off for us much. Excessive heat warnings are still in the forecast, and I think we're going to hold on to those through about Thursday of this week. High heat, high humidity. In fact, over the weekend, one of the headlines across the country was that the hottest temperature in the country was uncomfortably close to us here in the Ozarks. In fact, it was in Kansas over the weekend. Heat index value of 113. Those numbers pretty common across the Midwest over the weekend. We're all under that big heat dome with the summer-like air trapped underneath. And unfortunately, the pattern is just not going to break. It makes for something that we call the ring of fire. It means that all around the ridge of high pressure, that's where you see the heavy rains. Of course, we've been talking about Hillary off to the southwest, bringing all the heavy rain, landing as a hurricane. In fact, made landfall yesterday in Mexico. The storm rapidly weakening as it moves north to impact the United States, but Hillary is on that side. We've got another storm moving into the Gulf, and we're here in the middle, trapped underneath this big ridge of high pressure, and that's going to keep our weather pattern quiet and really hot and humid as we head through the rest of the work week forecast. Another headline for you is that excessive heat warnings are out, not just for today for all of the Ozarks, but these last through Thursday. I mean, this is not heat to mess around with. We always want to make sure we're saying that everybody needs to take breaks in the air conditioning, avoid the peak heating of the afternoon if you can between noon and 4. But this is really serious. And one of the reasons is that our overnight low temperatures never cool off much. So we don't even get relief in the overnight hours this week. In fact, lows tonight only falling back to about 74 degrees, and then afternoon highs easily making their way into that triple digit territory. Heat index value near 115, not just for today, but also Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday. Heat exhaustion, heat stroke, and extreme dehydration happening in this type of weather. Don't be one of those headlines, one of those statistics. Make sure you're taking care of yourself and really taking this heat very seriously as we head into the next few days. No rain is in my extended forecast, and no big change is in my extended forecast either. When I look at some of the long range charts, what we could use is a cold front, a low pressure system, something that would bring us rain. But because of this setup and the big ridge of high pressure, I don't have any rainfall coming our way for the next week in the Ozarks. I don't even have a whole lot in the way of cloud cover. We'll get some high, thin clouds from time to time, but if you're, hoping for some shade, you're going to have to find a tree because it is just not going to come in the form of cloud cover. We are pretty much smack dab in the center of the heat dome, and that pattern is not going to break. Prolonged heat can result in increased impacts, so excessive heat, especially dangerous for vulnerable populations. Check on your elderly neighbors. Make sure you're not letting young kids out for too long. Never, of course, leave kids or pets in the car. In fact, it's really too hot to even walk the dogs. Sidewalk pavement, incredibly hot. So let's take care of each other. Make sure we're checking on everybody that lives nearby because this is not something to mess around with. How about 100 degrees for the afternoon high temperature today? That's the forecast for the Ozarks. No rain in sight, not even much in the way of cloud cover. I've got a west breeze in the forecast at about 5 to 15 miles an hour. So at least there's some sort of breeze. Nothing but sunshine in the extended outlook, though. We've got numbers approaching the century mark all the way through the end of the work week forecast. And then I think we can hope for some relief by the weekend. Cold front finally pushes through here. The ridge backs off a little bit. By Saturday and Sunday, we should see those high temperatures drop back down closer to 90 degrees. Really, though, weather's just quiet, hot, and humid here in the middle part of the country. All around the country, it's pretty active. In fact, of course, we've heard about some of those flooding headlines. That's expected to happen in Southern California, portions of Nevada and Arizona today. They are looking at yearly rainfall totals in a matter of a couple of hours in a few locations. So flooding going to be on the radar today for the southwestern portion of the country. Oppressive heat lingers for us and for much of the middle part of the country. And then I'm watching the Gulf of Mexico. I told you last week the tropics were pretty quiet, and then they turned right around. Over the weekend, we started to see a lot of activity. National Hurricane Center is really monitoring this area of low pressure out in the Gulf. It could become a tropical storm. Even if it doesn't, I think it's going to bring some really heavy rain to South Texas. So that's good news in terms of rainfall. They need it, but you always also hear about some flooding headlines, especially for the Houston area, much of South Texas looking at some rain. That's going to be as we get closer to the middle of the week. So stay tuned to that if you have friends or family in the Gulf of Mexico. That's what's really going on across the country. East Coast should stay quiet, at least for the start of the work week. All right, here is the wake up weather brain twister question that I left you with yesterday. I had Joseph on last week to take a stab at this one so you can find out if he's right. What candy bar was named after a family horse? Do you think it was A, Hershey's Gold, B, Snickers, C, Reese's Cups, or D, O. Henry? Joseph guessed D, O. Henry, and I saw some comments over on the Around the Ozarks Facebook page also guessing D, O. Henry, but there were also a lot of you that knew this one. The answer is B. It is Snickers. That's probably my favorite candy bar. And Snickers is so good. It is named after a family horse too. The Mars family in 1930, they decided, you know what, this is a pretty good candy bar that we just came up with. What's our favorite horse? And it was Snickers. So Snickers originated from a horse. It has stood the test of time here. I don't think Snickers are going anywhere anytime soon. The Snickers chocolate bar, of course, in my opinion, the most delicious with nougat, peanuts, caramel, and a chocolate coating. Can't beat it. Kind of want one. I should have had them for early this morning on the show. All right, here's your brain twister question for tomorrow. Which month has seen the most Category 4 hurricanes? Now that we're talking about the tropics getting a bit more active, I thought this would be a timely question. Do you think that happens typically A, in August, B, in September, or C, in October? I will have the answer for you early tomorrow morning. Of course, I'll have an update on Hillary too. Post-tropical cyclone at that point as it's impacting the United States. And we'll take a look at the Gulf too. I'll let you know how that storm system is shaping up. That's coming up tomorrow morning on Around the Ozarks. Thanks for listening early this morning. Find a way to stay cool and beat the heat. I will chat with you again on Tuesday morning. Have a great afternoon.